This is the Grind Session Podcast. I don't think we have a name for it yet. We should go back to the name Grind Time.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's Grind Time, episode 2 of this season. This is going to be a season recap where we talk about how our season ended, all the top players from this season, our co-MVPs, offensive, defensive player of the year, some first team stuff, all Grind Session team stuff. We can lead it off with, our co-MVPs of the year. We got Jalen Green and Daishen Nix, two of, our Grind Session favorite players to ever come through the Grind Session. They're two very explosive players that will do a great amount of damage at the college level. We never know if Jalen's going to go to pro or not. We're waiting on that commitment, which he just announced that his commitment will be coming April 17th, 2020 at 4 p.m. Eastern, so 3 p.m. Central. And also another shout out to Jalen. He just got an episode on the TV show Prodigy. It's only on Quibi, so if y'all want to go check that out, you can. Jalen this season averaged 22 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, and 0.5 steals per game. And that was only in 10 of their Grind Session games. There were 6 games, I think, that were 18 or 20-minute halves that we did not include in these stats. And then Daishen, he averaged 24 points per game, almost 25, 6 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, and 2 steals per game. Daishen is committed to UCLA. Jalen also has UCLA in his top 5, so, they could team up, which I had told Skyler earlier, who ducked out on us on this podcast episode. Shout out to him, Sky Dub. I had told him earlier, if Jalen was to commit to UCLA and go there and play with Daishen, I'd probably bandwagon, and I might not be so much of a BBN fan next year as far as a UCLA fan.
Or you could flip it, and let's say that Jalen goes overseas, and because of the coronavirus, that basketball, they're given more options.
Yeah.
And let's say that he decides to go and play overseas let's say Daishen goes and plays overseas with Jalen. That'd be a heck of a team.
That would be really crazy. And let's say, we have a Grind Session alumni, Melo Ball, who just purchased the Laura Hawks. So you never know, what if they go there and team up? That'd be a big Grind Session connection right there.
That could be a discussion that's going on right now, I bet.
I wouldn't doubt that discussion is going on somewhere behind closed doors.
So, but just thinking back, Jalen, we've got about 4 or 5 guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame next year that were here just this year. I mean, but the stuff that we got to see Jalen do, he would have 2 or 3 explosive dunks every game.
Yeah.
That, some of those would even win a dunk contest. I'm talking about at the NBA level. It's just that watching him in warm-ups, it's like, wow.
Yeah, Crushing the Valley, too. He definitely put on a show where we had, I want to say I was on the baseline, and there was at least like 20 other cameramen, camerawomen, and we were just stockpiled waiting on the baseline, and Jalen did like a 360 East Bay dunk, and then he went through the legs, and it was all in the same game. And, everybody was putting out videos immediately when it happened. I looked to my right, and there was this girl that worked for Overtime, and she was like, yeah, I'm about to send that in right now. And I go to Overtime literally 3 minutes later, and they had already posted the Jalen dunk, and I was like, dang, y'all are ahead of me, but at least we got it on the live stream. And, it was a crazy game. The atmosphere was crazy. Anytime we really had Prolific, he brought a crowd, and the excitement was always there. And it wasn't just, just Jalen. They also had Amari and Coleman and, 2 guys that could potentially be 5 stars, but, they'll probably do some pretty good damage at the college level. Amari going to Texas Tech and Coleman going to Illinois. Some top D1 schools, they had some talent this year. And Mawad also going to Rutgers. They had some talent this year that is going to be great at the college level. And they brought us some great crowds and always brought excitement whenever we got to see them play.
Yeah, and Amari will go down as either the best shooter or one of the top shooters that have ever been on the Grind Session. When he got hot, what he did in that final game, that's that speaks volumes for Namari because the biggest game of his career, and he played at a level that he plays at a high level all the time, but I felt like he even pushed it higher on that particular day.
Yeah, and he had been out for, 2 to 3 weeks already because of an injury that, he had pushed through the whole season, and it was time for him, take a break and sit out for a few weeks. And he came back and everybody was like, oh, he's going to be a little rusty this, rusty that. And he came out and put on a performance that will go down in Grind Session history, I'm sure, because he definitely got MVP of that game, and he put the team on his back that game and came through when he needed to. He lost in the championship a few years before that.
Yeah.
With Prolific, and as a youngin, he learned. He had won a state championship his freshman year at Morgan Park. He comes to Grind Session, he loses in the championship, and then he's like, senior year, this is my last game. I got to do something right here. With the McDonald's game canceled and the Jordan game canceled, he has to do something right here to make a statement, and he definitely did that. He was hitting from everywhere, couldn't stop him. Somebody got into his head at one point, and this was the first time I had seen Namari yap and go crazy and talk stuff like he had, and that's just the PG-13 version of what I could put. But Namari definitely was saying some stuff that I had never heard him say, and it was some good stuff. Like I I loved it. His aggression, his stuff talk, his crap talk. I'm a fan of that type of game. So, and I loved it that game, especially because he was able to back it up regardless of who was on him, and they were playing a tough OSL team. It's not easy to win a game like that. And also against the West Oaks team, he also was putting on a good performance before we were rudely interrupted.
Yes, and Coach Pete, our Savior Lutheran's head coach, he loves Namari. I mean, raves about Namari. He says he is an OSL killer. He said, I don't like OSL killers, but he said Namari is our most wanted OSL killer. So
yeah, he's got that label now. He's done it a couple times, and it's tough to do that against a New York team like that with two guards. Posh and Dylan. Shout out to them too. They're both going to St. John's, and they were explosive, fast, aggressive guards who are not going to let up on you regardless. And they pushed through that championship game after having to play a semifinal game in the same day, a full game. Prolific, they only had to play a half game, and OSL had to play a full game and then play back-to-back. So we got to give them a little break, but their legs were dead, and you could tell at the end when Pete was pushing Posh to try to, stay in the game. He came off, caught full both leg cramps, and they were doing everything they could, getting mustard. I'm running over trying to get pickle juice for him,
Yeah.
just because I wanted to see him finish the game. But he put on a show. They both put on a show, but Prolific was able to come out on top.
And let's talk about Posh for just a second. I think that what's interesting about Posh is I really feel like every single time that guy's name comes up or whatever, we underestimate how good he really is. He is, is he a pro? He's a pro.
I definitely think he's a pro.
And you can ask people, is he a pro? And they'll look at you, they'll think about it a second. There's no doubt in my mind the guy's a pro. He is a pro, and he does some stuff out there that a lot of people haven't seen. I saw that I think Overtime did a video with him in the park or whatever. He has incredible ups. He's just, but he is just, his legs are huge. He's just, he's a competitor. I love that kid. He's one of those kids that it takes a while for people to earn his trust. Mm-hmm. And once they earn his trust, he's just, but what I love the fact is he embraced the Grind Session. He and Dylan, Coach Pete, the whole OSL, that was their ultimate goal, is to, they were so excited about being in the Grind Session.
Yeah, that was one of those teams that, that when they come around, just the demeanor about everything changes. They have a positive attitude regardless of what's going on. Even that day when they had to play both games in the same day, they were understanding about it. Pete's always understanding. He's always accommodable about everything. That's one of those teams that, we were able to kick it with, off the camera with the Grind Session. We got to go to Skylar's dad's building, and his dad whipped up a great meal for us. And we were able to sit down with OSL, the team, Sylvia, the coaches, Coach Pete, all the players, and we had a great time watching the All-Star game and the All-Star competition.